And here we go.
We're live.
Welcome.
First story.
That would be mind-blowing.
Trending stories are taking over.
TSTO. Why does he get a bell for that?
Next story.
Everybody get down.
According to the sounds, I'm not doing so hot today.
TSTO.
TSTO thing.
TSTOMG.
TSTO.
That's crazy.
Story time. What is happening, people of the universe? Oh, wait a minute. Florida Dan. Oh, look at this.
Howdy, y'all. How you doing?
Oh my goodness. I am legitimately surprised and I'm really excited that Florida Dan is here.
It's vacation time, y'all. This
Oh.
quarantine season has been up in alligators, but let me tell you, I can't even. I've been having vacation time in my own home. I mean, so much so I am completely out of booze. Believe me, it's not okay. I'm going a little stir crazy. I'm drinking LaCroix. This is LaCroix.
It's LaCroix.
I've never been so hydrated in my life.
Wow.
Florida Dan, it's so good to see you. It's been a while. It's been a really long time.
It's good to see you too. Good to see you too.
Yes. Hey, Tiffany's here. Tiffany says hi to Florida Dan with lots of funny laughy faces. Laughy faces
hi.
for sure.
Good to see you, Tiff.
Oh man. So boys, this is a big deal. This is episode 30. Did you guys know this is episode 30?
Episode.
Wow.
This is episode 30.
Welcome me.
Hey, Trent Super, what is up, brother? How you doing, man? Happy Corona-cation to you, because that's, I think, what this kind of is. Corona-cation.
No. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Florida
Don't
Dan-
say that this is a happy time.
Why not? Dan, why is this not a happy time? Tell me.
People are dying. There's riots in the streets. It's like Rodney King, but
There's
in
no-
2020.
No, there's no riots in the streets, and there's no, I don't know what you're doing.
Can't we all just get 6 feet apart?
One of them stories that you sent me over. One of them stories that you sent me over begs to differ.
Begs to differ about riots in the streets? Yeah, well, we'll talk about that, I'm sure. Yes. Trent, hey, man, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Good to see you. So this is another episode of the Trending Stories Taking Over show. We are here. I am Todd Frazier.
I'm Florida Dan.
I'll be Chris Cody today.
And today he'll be Chris Cody. That's good. And
right.
we are going to talk about, hey, Tiffany says riots in the grocery stores. You know what? I think that's probably accurate. There have been riots in the grocery stores. Tiffany, you get a bell for that for sure. Riots in the grocery
Down
stores.
Here, our gun stores are grocery stores.
Yeah. So, how are you guys holding up? It's been we're going on 4 weeks with all the quarantine, staying home, don't go anywhere, don't do anything, hide your wives, hide your knives. How you guys doing?
This is ridiculous.
Why is this ridiculous, Chris?
It's just, I don't know. I mean, for the most part, it's normal for us. I mean, the boys are home, homeschooling and stuff. Really, what's happened is everything except 2 is closed.
How you doing?
Or can't happen. So, and I'm like the dedicated store goer. So every time I go, I'm kind of like, great. Now I'm 6 feet apart. I have to wait in line to get into the store. Now I got to wear a mask when I go to the store. I'm like, gosh, 4 weeks ago, if I were to go to the store wearing what I'm currently wearing with a bandana across my face,
yeah,
people would call the police. And now if I don't have the stuff on, they're going to call the police. I'm like, come on. What's going on here? So
I had that same realization the other day. Because I went in and I wore a mask in the grocery store for the first time, and I looked around and I was like, it would be so much easier for me to rob a grocery store right now.
You know what? So my buddy Jason Banks, Jason, if you're watching, comment below. But Jason made a comment. He's an Army vet and he's been in combat, and he said something that was very interesting and I hadn't thought about, is when you cover your face like that, it dehumanizes you. And when you do that, then there's a lot of things that you're willing to do maybe that you wouldn't do otherwise on both ends. On both ends,
you're
right?
hiding in a way.
Yep. Yep. Hey, looks like my family's watching. Travis,
awesome.
Hey buddy, good to see you. I'm glad. I mean, I'm not seeing you, but I know you're watching. So, yeah, dude, this is the mask thing is crazy, and it's weird because now it's like I was just talking to Dad, and he's like, it feels weird, like when
I know him.
Yeah, you know him. When people before when they come in masks, I'm like, what's wrong with them? Why are they wearing a mask? And now you go in and people aren't wearing a mask. Like, what's wrong with them? Why are they not wearing a mask? Like, it's this weird like dichotomy thing it's a weird norm now that we're having to deal with.
Well, and I think it's amazing how fast this became normal, right?
Right.
Now, what's going to happen after they're like, okay, all's clear, go out and live life again, and we're still not going to shake hands and still wear masks and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I mean, what we're doing is great, and I'm glad that we collectively are joining together to do something to try and halt a bad. Yeah. But I'm wondering how this is going to later affect us negatively, because social communion is something that is very important to us as human beings. We need to have that. We're built to have that social engagement, and to eliminate that for a lot of people in this way that may have long-term effects. I don't know. I just feel like it's going to create. It's like, we stopped the spread of this crazy virus that is more immediate, but what's going to happen long-term to us as a society, if that makes sense.
I think that's totally valid, and everything's going to be different. I don't think anything will ever be the same again, and I think that's kind of going across all of the globe. That's not just localized. Trent says something here. The toughest part's not being able to go to the gym and not receiving a paycheck sucks. Totally agree, dude. I mean, that's just life is not what it used to be, and I don't think it ever will be again. And then Trent, to answer your other question, yes, that's my little brother Jake right here, Florida Dan. Where'd he go? There he is, right there. Yeah, there he is. But yeah, like life's not going to be the same. There's nothing that we can do to predict what it's going to be, but I think it's definitely going to be different, and there's going to be stuff that changes just across the board that I don't think is going to be something that we're going to be able to know now, and I think it's going to be gradually changing as it all goes. So it's really weird. It's just really weird.
Yeah.
So Jake, what about you? We haven't heard from you. Like, what have you been doing? I mean, other than playing Call of Duty and being proficient at it, what have you been up to?
I threw my back out.
What? Whoa. Playing Call of Duty?
Yeah. Work on those core muscles, my friend.
See, that's the deal. That's the deal there.
Yes.
You make jokes. You make jokes.
No. I'm with you. I did a long shift the other day, and my back hurt after a while.
My back is hurt because I've been sitting in a chair playing Call of Duty.
You need a better chair.
I do. I'm using one of those old chairs from Dad's office.
Oh, no.
Like 70s chairs, and I'm like all curled up in it like an infant in an embrace from their mother.
Yeah, it's not good. That's not a good chair.
It's not. So I have been in miserable pain for the last couple of days, and it doesn't help that I have all this quarantine weight that my back is supposed to support.
Yeah. I'm finding myself eating a lot of bread, and I don't think that helps for
so much bread.
So our kids took this baking class, and they learned how to make bread just from flour, and we were out of flour. So we had the baking class coming up like 2 days ago, and I'm like, I got to find flour. So I went to Smart and Final, and I called Tammy, said, how much flour do we need? Because it's gone like all over the normal places. And she goes, well, I mean, how much is it? I mean, well, it's a fairly big bag, but it's not very, not very expensive. And whatever, I'll bring it home. I brought home a 50-pound bag of flour.
Oh man!
And Tammy just like wakes up in the middle of the night and she hears like rustling in the kitchen. She comes in and you're just pumping flour into your mouth. It's so good.
What? What is it?
Where's this been all our lives?
Yeah. CJ, yes. I know he's so old now. Jake, CJ says, you're so old now. I remember him as a baby, but I guess my baby brother is 25, so it makes sense. Yeah, same age. Like, they get older. That's what happens. And now we're talking about trending stories together on the internet. You know what? Tammy says, so guys, I wasn't kidding. I really bought a 50-pound bag of flour.
That's awesome.
And Tammy says she never needs flour again. And if anybody needs flour, if you're out there and you're like, I could use some flour, just let me know.
Send us those bread recipes, my friend. Send us those bread recipes.
Dude, yeah, so they've been making bread, and in the last 2 days, they've made 4 loaves of bread, and they've been gone within 20 minutes of them being out of the oven.
Oh, fresh bread's amazing.
Oh, it's so good. Man.
See, here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
I think that if you're going to make bread, right, that's great.
Then you should make cheese as well. Yes. I'm with you.
You can make cheese, get the cloth and everything. You can do a lot that way.
No.
Also, what I do seriously think is that eating bread that your children are making from this gargantuan bag of flour that you bought is going to be better for you than eating 7 monkey breads.
I don't know. That's a tough call.
I'm not necessarily better as in like
monkey bread.
it tastes like, but
Right.
better for you health-wise.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing a lot of brain exercises, so I'm sure
Yeah.
that's a calorie burner, right?
It does.
It's a calorie burner.
Exercise.
Yeah, that's an exercise. Oh man, but we got a lot of trending stories, and we do. There's a lot of things that have been going on, and we are going to start with a segment we are going to call the TSTO Sports segment. Are you guys ready for this? Can you believe? Look at this. We have a graphic. Oh, TSTO Sports. Legit.
Booyah.
It's real.
Awesome.
Something that a lot of us are missing right now is sports. MLB did not start.
So bad.
MLB
I miss
did
sports
not.
so bad.
So I was talking to Dad the other day, and he's missing golf so bad that he's watching the coronavirus map, and he's like, it's like a golf tournament. So it's like whichever country has the lowest is in the lead. It's like the golf leaderboard.
That's awesome. That sounds more fun than golf.
That's what we've come to. Yeah, I mean, don't you think that like during the plague, people were like casting lots, saying, "Oh, I bet old Bob over there is gonna bite it. He's gonna go down from the fleas on the rats, and I'll bet you 15 shilling it's gonna go down like that." And then it turned into this giant.
Well, I
casting
certainly
of
hope
blood.
Mrs. Willoughby gets it. That owes me 5 shillings from last week's tournament of roses.
Not only will I win, but I'll be rid of her nuisance.
Shenanigans.
Oh my! But the thing that's interesting is that because I think there's this natural need for competition, and we're looking for it wherever we can find it. But Dr. Anthony Fauci, if you've been paying attention and you've been watching any of the news, Dr. Anthony Fauci is the guy that is talking about things, and he says he's promoting a fan-free return to sports. Now there's this interview on ESPN. There was a bunch of sportscasters talking. Rex Ryan talked about it, and one of the guys, the guy on the far right there, he talked about how he found himself watching some sort of weird horse race thing that wasn't actually like a horse race. It was and he's like, he just wanted
A horse fight?
It's something weird. I don't know what it was, but he said he found himself watching it longer than he expected, and that's the kind of stuff people are turning to because sports, but sports without fans, that's an interesting thing.
No.
No. Why do you say no, Chris? What's your no?
No, because that it's a spectator thing. You're like, okay, I've played sports, right? But well, you play sports too. Okay, sports and entertainment, right? Let's take live performances and put them all together. Anything that requires a fan base or whatever, like there's energy that comes from the fans supporting you that makes you play harder, that makes you perform better, that makes you that much. It just increases your ability to do things. I think that we'll get less from sports and entertainment in general, live entertainment in general, without there being the people to watch it. So I don't know. I mean,
you mean we'll get less out of it because we're not physically able to be there?
Well, we'll get less out of it, and the players will perform worse.
Yeah. Now, here's something that I did think about that because I agree. Playing to an empty stadium would be extremely strange. However, there could be ways that we could use technology where you have piped in sound from people that are watching, and then I'm dead serious.
Biggest Zoom call for
And
every
yes, and then they have video of some fans that you have to pay premium to be in the stadium as a screen, right? So there's things that could happen there, but from the player standpoint, Jake, give it to me, Jake, give it to me.
Here's the problem. I'm Vegas Jake now.
Oh, Vegas Jake.
The problem is that, one, if you were going to do that premium thing where all of a sudden you can pay like a price to be a screen in the stadium, what benefit do you gain from that everybody else doesn't have other than just knowing that your face is in the stadium and who's going to pay attention to that?
Because people pay for stupid stuff all the time, one. And two, maybe you
like
get
that giant bag of flour you bought.
Hey, that was really important. That was a big deal. But the other thing that would be potentially a reason to level up would be you get a better version of the stream, because if everybody's watching it, and then they have to dictate how much of the stream goes where. So they could maybe get a pipeline where certain people get a better version of the stream, or they get no advertising, or like there's a bunch of different things that you could put in there that would make that work. It'd be really weird. I'm not saying it's a good idea.
Okay. So that's my first question.
Okay.
Second question is, and I took the glasses off because this no longer has to do with money.
Okay.
My second question is, what makes you think that players who have learned to adjust their entire career to louder stadiums, like when you go to Seattle, people are like, you got to watch out for the 12th man. It's the loudest stadium in football. You have to adjust for that. Or if you're going and playing a baseball game, right, and you're playing, I don't know, somewhere in like Tampa, right, and the stadium's half empty, like all the time, and they have to adjust to that, right? I think the athletes would be able to adjust to that within the first couple of weeks of playing their respective sport. And honestly, in a selfish way, just get sports back on the air, please. For the love of God, whatever it takes.
It's been really weird. It's been really weird with no sports at all. Like that's been super strange. And I think that we are realizing how big of a part of our culture that is. Like whether it's baseball, football, I mean, you think about NASCAR, like that's a huge market. You think golf, like right now with all that happening, not happening, like there is a ton of people that are looking for golf. I just don't know. Like, well, okay, what are the sports that could happen easily with no fans? I think golf's definitely one of them.
Right.
Right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think golf benefits without fans.
I think
it benefits
potentially
without having to be there. Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, well, I mean, oh wow, big man. No, I do think that like the guy that's like get in the hole the moment that he hits the ball, like that guy shouldn't be around.
Right.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't disagree with that at all. I think it's
but like
I think any sport or game that is actually better for viewership, like on the screen, like football, baseball, it's all contained in the stadium. You're there, you can watch everything. Hockey, you're there, you can watch the whole game, see what's going on. But things like golf, where you can't be at every hole, or you have to travel to get to different places, or long races, or different things like that, then those ones I think would mostly benefit from, that kind of camera angle, or requiring camera angles and you watching on a screen, because you actually can witness the entire thing more readily. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not wholly against the idea, because most of the fans watch from TV anyways.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's something about going to the stadium. Like I long to be able to take my boys to a hockey game and go see the Ducks, or like I don't even care for baseball. You guys know that, but I want to take them to an Angels game, right? Like I want them to experience what that's like, and the fun of it. And otherwise, like, good luck. Baseball's never streaming in my house. Like it's just not a thing. But
and I think that's another thing. Like baseball doesn't translate on TV as well as it does in person. Eric says something here. He said that he's heard golf will be back because it's easy to be 6 feet apart, and I think that's true. Like you think about the function of the game, that's an easy thing. But then you think about the testing that they're going to have to do to make sure that players are accurately taken care of as far as how bad this is. Now, but then we get into the conversation of how bad is this actually? Like that's
right.
That's
well, sure. Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's hard though, because we don't know where this is going to go. Right. Mm-hmm. We have people that are speculating about how long it's going to take for this to settle down. We have people that are that are saying that it's going to be another month. We have people that are saying it's going to be another 2, maybe 3. But it's really interesting because in this article they're talking about if the MLB were to start now and they had a shortened season, or maybe not now but in the near future, hosting all the teams, all 30 teams in Arizona. So having every single team play almost like a tournament style in Arizona, and then everybody is housed in hotels. They're heavily surveilled, and they're tested every week, which is crazy.
Yeah,
like,
and
how do they maintain that?
Well, and the other thing that I think about that is the expense to do that and the loss of revenue of not having people in stands. I don't know if that balances. You know, I mean, because the cost of doing all that, yes, you don't have to have the people running the concessions. You don't have to have all the ushers. You don't have to have the ticket takers. You don't have to have any of that administratively. However, the cost of the hotels and And what?
Ads.
And ads.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
How many people are going to be watching it on TV if it's already just in standard syndication? You up the ad value and sell ads that way to try and make up the difference, but I still don't think they could.
Yeah, but companies are not spending money on ads right now because people don't have money to buy the stuff as much. Like that's the other problem that we have. Hallie says, "Hey, Hallie." Hallie says, "Sounds like a lot of work. We don't need sports."
We don't need you.
Right.
Hallie, you get a buzzer for that. Tiffany says tennis. I think that's probably right. Tennis would be a good one. It'd be easy for that to function. Again, I don't know what it costs to run a tennis match though. So the sports
UFC fight should come back.
Well, I heard
boxing.
they put a date out. I don't have the article here, but they put a date out where they're going to have another UFC fight. Now that the majority of that's weird. I know it's weird. They'll have pay-per-view money, right? That'll be something that they'll be able to get from it. But the live in the seats, I would think that's a big part of the UFC world.
Oh, yeah.
Like you would. That'd be weird.
It's two sweaty bodies rubbing on top of each other.
But if they don't have it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's the thing I think people forget is like, okay, if two parties don't have the virus, there's nothing to be afraid of.
Exactly.
Because I'm very aware of that. But you know who isn't? A lot of the American public. If they see two people really close together, they burn them at the stake.
Yep.
Right.
No, it's true. And I
burn one.
They might burn them both just because in case one floats. You never know.
Whichever one's a witch.
Right. Hey, she turned me into a newt. But I think that's something to think about is the only other thing that could be possible that we don't know yet is if it's like the virus in The Walking Dead that turns you into a zombie, we all already have it, which means, you might as well.
Watch out. That's the world I want to live in.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of people getting together that shouldn't get together, a lot of times people are seeing that and they're freaking out. In this next story, we're going to talk about two companies that are talking about getting together and joining forces that could be good, but it could be really, really bad. I don't know which way it's going to go. All right, so with everything happening with the coronavirus and all the things about tracking and needing to know where the people are who have it, and if you've been in contact with them, we talked about a story last week where it was like this dream scenario of what it would be like the future after Corona, and you wake up and you get a notification on your phone. Well, that is becoming a potential reality thanks to Google and Apple. So Google and Apple have a clever way of encouraging people to install contact tracing apps for COVID-19. Now, the big problem with getting people to adopt these apps is because it's not required, right? This is something they have to elect. They have to opt in for this. And a lot of people, including myself, are a little bit concerned about how deep this goes from a security standpoint. We talked about, Jake, you are not feeling like this is a security issue. Chris, you're not.
I don't have security concerns. Like, what are they gonna find on me other than like where I live, right? And I mean, like, are they gonna come to my home?
Well, yeah, they might. Like, that's the thing.
I'll provide them with a nice steak dinner.
Well, if you're gonna provide steak dinner, I'm coming over.
Yeah, and we're gonna start streaming from your house.
Right.
That's what I mean. There's nothing bad.
So going back to the last story real quickly, because I think this is a good comment. Tammy says, we talk about UFC fights and people being together and that being dangerous from a virus standpoint. Tammy says, UFC fighting is dangerous anyway. The virus is only a secondary concern. So look, those guys are like, I'm going to get my skull bashed in. I'm not worried about a virus that might make me not breathe for a little bit. Like that's their
most
concern.
of them look like Joe Exotic's first husband. Missing all the teeth.
Yeah. So Google and Apple are doing something, and it's interesting the way that they're doing this. They're saying now the security concern and Apple and Google joining forces is something that's like, two big behemoths joining forces. That's monopoly. That's, there's all kinds of issues there. But what they're talking about in this is having something where they work together, where it all networks between whether you have a Google device or an Apple device, and it's built into the software. So like if you get a software update, it's built into the software. Now you still have to opt in to the options, but what they're tracking is your proximity to other people, and they don't track anything else. That's what they're saying in this article. They're saying for now, right. Now they say where there's a spot in this article down here. The biggest concern most people have expressed about the collaboration is that it will lead to damaging privacy violations, which is exactly what we're talking about. That's the
Right.
concern, right? And the one thing that they say, because they asked the question, they said, "Hey, what about this?" They said right here, it avoids capturing location data and instead records only the proximity of your smartphone to someone else's. For another, I value my own privacy less during a public health emergency. But I think that's potentially the problem, is we're willing to let go of a lot more. And what does that do? And I think that's a lot of people are talking about. I don't know how you guys land. Well, I think I probably can guess how each of you land on the idea of you have to wear masks out. And there's a lot of people that are up in arms. They're taking away our freedom. We can't go to church. Like, there's a lot of this stuff that people are really up in arms about. And I think there are things we need to be concerned about. However, there is some level of, hey, we need to work together. And that might mean we give up a little bit of security. But what is this like? Jake, what do you think about this? I want to get your opinion on this first.
Well, I don't know. Getting like you said, getting somebody to download an app is going to be extremely difficult. So they're trying to implement it into automatic uploads, like you were saying. So like the Marshmallow or Android 6.0, like that whole deal. The Google Play Store automatically downloads something for you, especially if it's required by Android for you to have it. But one thing that is interesting is there's so many other countries that have started to implement these technological ideas into practice right now to be able to track people's interaction with each other, and they have not seen good results whatsoever.
They haven't seen good results. They have not seen good results in people adopting it.
Well, and not just in people adopting it and it working. Like in China, they remember we did that story a few episodes ago where they had adopted that app that could help you figure out if you're exposed to it. I mean, that's basically the extent to which we've had a technology to do something like this.
Right.
And now Google and Apple are saying that they have a better way to do it, which, I mean, sure, if you're going to be tracking the proximity between two phones and say, oh, I'm sitting next to Chris, but Chris is 8 feet away based on how far our phones are from each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's some
minor, how accurate can that be?
Yeah, there's some finesse details that might be difficult. However, if you think about the fact that maybe they make it a 10-foot radius because your phone could be further away than you are, but in the grand scheme of things, we need to figure out some way to track it that isn't manual from an efficiency standpoint. However, at some point, it's just going to be like you might have it, you might not, because there's so many asymptomatic people. Chris, what do you think about this?
I think it's hard. I think you kind of mentioned a little bit about like joining together. I think when in the face of something like this that we're currently going through, yes, let's band together, let's do the things, we'll wear the masks, even though it's frustrating or it's in the way or whatever. But it's a limited time. Eventually there's an end, and we should be able to take them off, shake hands again, get back into community as life was before, maybe even better. Who knows? But I think what's wrong with the technology shifting this way is I feel like in some ways technology changes and that cements a certain behavior in society, because now we're living to the technological advances as opposed to living a certain way and allowing the technology to support it, if that makes sense. And so I think we always have to be careful when technology like breaks and trailblazes and creates a new space, we immediately fill it, and then we learn as we go. But a lot of times we need to reserve and think what's going to happen, because I feel like technology is kind of like when you're talking about fighting, whenever you bring a certain weapon into a fight, you have to expect that it could be used against you. And so even though technology can do this great thing in this moment, it could also be flipped around and used by someone else in a very horrible way. And so I think we need to slow down a little bit and realize that no matter what things we might have that might be good for the moment, we have to at least take a step back and think, how could this be used in a bad way? Not to be like conspiracy theorist or to be whatever, but think a little bit before we move forward, because is it worth the little help now to unleash a greater evil down the road? And if you think about it first, be like, no, that's highly unlikely that's going to happen. In fact, we're going to do this X, Y, Z to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, fine. At least you thought about it. We move forward. We set up boundaries so that the technology doesn't go into a place where we don't want it to go.
Well, and in the article right here, it says some readers have asked me whether the system might be put to other users, such as targeting advertising or whether non-governmental organization be access to it. And Apple and Google explicitly said no. So they're thinking about that, and they're working on everything they can to do it. And unfortunately, we can't control anybody other than ourselves. We have to say, okay, at some point we have to trust, we have to have faith that they're going to be using it for the right ways. But this also only communicates. Now, the one thing that is interesting about this idea, and Hallie has a question. She says, what app are we talking about? So it's not an app. Google and Apple are talking about putting something baked into the operating systems on their phones that you have to opt into, but it does a tracking based on proximity. It's not a specific app.
Well, that's also not necessarily true, because they talk about how even if somebody hasn't downloaded the app, they're still able to send alerts to somebody whether or not they're in proximity with someone that they believe has the virus.
Right. The other person would have
like
opted
an
in.
Amber Alert.
Yeah.
Which,
like an
I mean,
you know what? Actually, that's a good point. It's like an Amber Alert. If somebody has opted in because they are positive and they have it, and they're saying, hey, I want people to know so that, it's easy for people to stay away if they want to stay away, blah, 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 whatever. Right. I think that is something that's important. So Nona says here, why do we need tracking? It's crossing people's privacy and it's violating HIPAA. So the only thing that it doesn't violate, it's not a HIPAA thing because it's not accessible to the public. Now, the one thing I will say about that, though, is it does notify people that. Now, I don't know if it notifies specifically the person or just that somebody is there. There is somebody. Like, I don't know. But you know what? At the same time, this is something that doesn't exist yet. It will exist on some level, but will it exist before we have another fix? Like, that's the other thing that's, like, unknown. All of this is unknown.
Right. Well, I think something like this would really could scare people, because you take that, what you just said, oh, it notifies this person might have and stuff like that. It can be fear-inducing, and also, like you said, okay, it's not available to certain people, but we don't know who has access to that level of security. If Apple and Google are running it, we're like that, and also there's these guys called hackers who could eventually get in there and get that information, and who's to say? Like I said, precedent. You do this, okay, cool, opt in, whatever like that. Now we have this grid of people and stuff like that. And then later down the road, I'm not saying the people in the store now, but later down the road, there could be somebody who gets to have access to it somehow. Yep. And suddenly they don't like people speaking about a certain thing. Oh, guess what? That person has the virus.
Yeah.
He doesn't, or she doesn't. But I'm just saying, like, that's storytelling, as it were. But
because then you get to the point where it's like you're branding a person. Right. And if it's specifically you're branded saying, hey, you have a virus, it's like the Scarlet Letter kind of ideas, I think, where you're going with that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not a permanent situation unless it is something where you have the worst case scenario and you are in the ICU, and then you got a totally different issue.
And not even talking about like 5 years from now, they're like, oh, well, he's got COVID. No. I'm just saying this type of technology
right now
opens the door for whatever it is later on. That, I mean, COVID is an example, so that it's like, they got something that could be potentially dangerous. Let's stay away from them. The public, all they need to know is that person has a thing I don't want. I'm staying away. Look, he's got it. He's right there. Get him.
Right.
And then now you're being pulled. And you're saying,
but then it depends on who's in control of it. It depends on who's in control of it. Exactly. And I think that's the thing that we have to be careful of, but at some time we have to just say it is what it is. Like that we can't control all the things. Yeah, Jake?
I mean, I think the idea that we have the ability to be careful with it is a misnomer. I don't think that we have any control of it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not fearful of people having my information, because of the fact that Google and Apple are organizations that are built towards what? Building technology. Mm-hmm. And people want to talk about all these crazy things that they do. That's like they have all this different privacy information and they start to use it. They're using it for their own gain, not necessarily malevolently against a singular person. The people that do that are these hackers that Chris is talking about. But again, that is one person. And that one person that is a hacker, I mean, I don't think that we've had an example up to this point of mass hysteria when it comes to a single hacker or a group of hackers taking in massive amounts of information before they're stopped.
Right. Yeah, so that's true.
I don't like, we have identity theft and credit card fraud. And those are like the two things that I see as like the massive thing that you're worried about when it comes to people taking your information, or like buying something off of your Amazon. Right, which is like happened to, I think, everybody.
Well, it happened to my father-in-law.
A simple resetting of your password
And
normally takes care of that problem.
And two-factor authentication. There's so many things out there that help against that. I think it's just something where people are weary about it because you're giving more information, and then that just leads towards the socialization and all of that. I mean, if you look at China, I mean, you talk about China, Jake, in the app, like they're a communist country. They're required to take it. They couldn't not take it. That app had to be on their device, whatever it was.
Right.
They did not have a choice, which is where the concern goes is, are we getting to the place where this is like we are giving up too much freedom? And that's the question, and that's the big fight. And I think that's the thing that we have to balance. And that's why we're not just like we're not just letting everybody control it. There is systems in place where there are checks and balances and questions.
Right.
And we can't control it all.
Right.
But I think technology, like I've said before, with the environment, I think technology is the answer. On some level, technology is going to fix it because people are too stubborn and selfish to actually have us be the reason that it gets fixed. Like I think something the Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, was talking, I guess, yesterday. I didn't see it. Tammy told me about it, saying that people are the reason that the virus is going down because we've done such a good job and we stayed home and we. And I'm like, you know what? A little bit, but that's not the reason. Like there are so many other factors outside of us. Yes, we have a part in it, but there's going to be some sort of technology that takes over and fixes it. And the hospitals with the technology they have are the reason that so many people are coming out of it. But technology is something that is not changing, and it's going to keep going. I mean, it is changing. It's constantly changing, and that's not going to slow down anytime soon.
Its role in our lives is only going to change in a sense of them getting bigger, them getting more prevalent. Because if you don't adapt to the way that technology is going now, you're going to die. You're never going to survive
100%. You adapt
in this world.
You adapt or die.
Right. It's very much like a Darwinistic way of thinking, but at the same time, there's a lot of truth in that idea of natural selection, right? There's pieces of it that are true. There's pieces of it that aren't. But reality is you have to adapt to be able to go from one place to another. Hallie even asked earlier, I thought monopolies were illegal. Monopolies, a sole ownership of something is illegal. And normally there's government services that will break that up. But when it comes to big tech, right, the reason why it feels like big tech is a monopoly is because of the fact that these guys are the guys that have gone through that natural selection process and continued to be the top of the top, the people that we choose to rely on. And monopolies, so in that sense, I mean, I guess you would say people joining together like this, Google and Apple are still separate companies, so they're still separate endeavors and not making a monopoly. They're working together in a time of a crisis. But what is illegal is killing your family over a game of Monopoly.
That is definitely illegal. But the legality of what is happening here is it's not. We said monopoly. This has nothing to do with a monopoly. This is them working together in partnership to create something that helps us in our current situation. So, I guess to answer your question, Hallie, monopolies are illegal, and this isn't technically a monopoly. But if Amazon had its way and some of these patents that we're going to talk about in the next story, they would have a monopoly over delivery for sure. So in this next story, there is so much technology. We've been talking all about it across the show, across forever. That's like what we talk about, technology and entertainment. And there are so many new patents that are coming out because of the coronavirus and a lot of the things that are happening. And this article has a bunch of them listed here. And I was surprised at some of these patents that I did not even know was a good idea. Did you guys read through some of these?
No.
Yay, Chris stayed blind. That stayed true to it. Yeah. Okay.
Well, this terrifies me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Like one of the first one is Google's working on self-driving car seats to protect passengers. So that's just something.
Yeah, this is so dumb.
Right. That's
that is so dumb.
Tell me why it's dumb.
Well, I mean, they even talk about it in the article. It's like if this car, so basically what this story or what this patent is about is that Google has self-driving cars, right? They're working on that technology and they got this patent in order to make it so that if the car senses that there's a crash about to happen, they'll switch your seat So your seats will move, and then you'll be in the point of least resistance in order to be able to like survive that crash. Right.
Yeah.
And so people are like, why wouldn't you just design it so the car could avoid the crash?
That's true. That's true.
Also, what does it mean if a car crash is imminent? Like, could that be a malfunction? And then all of a sudden you're switching around in your car screaming your guts out because you're anticipating to get hit by a semi. And reality is it's just one of those guys on a motorcycle that go way too fast right next to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they got to catch up to the rest of their Roadhog crew.
Yeah. And self-driving cars are weird. And there's another one down here talking about self-driving cars and like railroad tracks and trying to, like it's really weird. Speaking, we talked about Dad earlier, and Dad seems to be watching on YouTube because he commented. He said it's a bit concerning when government believes the answer to a crisis is more government control. And I think that goes back to like all of this stuff. How much government control do we really want? And how much do we actually need? Because we need some sort of guidance. We need leadership. But then the question is, where's the line? And we have to draw that. We have to decide where that is for each and every one of us. And unfortunately, there are 330 million people in our country, and we don't all have the same opinion, which is the hard part.
Right.
And a lot of these patents, like this other, like tracking your hands, it has to do with VR. So I'm like, nah, okay, why are they doing that patent? But it could
the
be.
VR one is cool.
I mean,
It is
cool,
really
yeah.
cool.
Try to turn it into a reality. Existing systems have had issues with latency and fidelity. Like that's the technology isn't there yet. VR is not ready to go. Google Assistant like a highlighter. I was confused. Why is this even not a patent already? Like it's like you circle a thing.
Well,
like it's highlighting text, and I don't get it.
Right.
It's pretty cool. Basically what it's doing is it's saying that if you're on your phone, instead of actually like going in and being like, oh, I have to get like the example they use is their flight number.
Flight number, yeah.
Right. And instead of going and grabbing that flight number by going through your Gmail, finding the email, sending it to somebody, what you do is you take like a stylus or you ask your Google Assistant to draw a circle around a certain phrase or keyword, and then it goes through your files for you, finds that phrase or keyword that you're looking for, and then puts it right in front of your face, so you don't even have to do any digging.
So it's just like
it's
a search
laziness.
tool. Yeah, it's which a lot of us are finding is something that we're good at with all the coronavirus. The next one I think is really, really interesting, and it relates back to Amazon drones. So they're making radar landing pads for drones. So this is interesting because the big thing about drone delivery, which we've talked about before on the show, is that how do they get it so that they get here and then we know where to put it and this is a safe place for it to land. So these radar landing pads, you just lay out somewhere like in your backyard or wherever, and the drone knows that that's a place to land. I think that is brilliant. And that's what's been missing from drone delivery.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I would like to imagine these mats as like a Dance Revolution pad.
Yes,
you know? So like the ones that you used to be able to like plug into your like GameCube.
Right. Oh yeah,
and then just stomp on. Yeah, because then it's twofold. You can use it for two things. You can use it for getting your new Just Dance 2, or you could take it outside and just play some funky beats, and you could do one of these online dance club things.
Oh, you could.
That we're going to talk about, and you could dance on it then.
You know what? I think that is really, really cool. Some of these other ones, shopping in VR, like
that's cool.
That's kind of a cool idea. And again, I think that connects with the hand movement one. And then this other one, bringing Amazon's warehouse to your driveway, like. This is really strange. They're just going to drive the truck autonomously with robots to your driveway, and then they're going to drop off your stuff on a pallet on your driveway.
That sounds cool.
I mean, it's what they're doing is they're figuring out how to use technology. You would actually what?
You would actually be the one getting into the truck and sorting through your own packages. So basically it's like an autonomous truck or rack, as they call it, that rolls up to your house, and then you go in the back and then you have like a list of what you bought, and then you go in and you're touching everything. But that's the thing is right now you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that. And what's to keep people from taking stuff that they didn't order?
Right.
Like, exactly. I mean,
because that happens already.
Yeah, right? Exactly. They just take it.
There's one of those. Yeah, there's one of those Boston Dynamic robots back there with a taser attachment, and you get up there, and the moment you're getting close, it just goes rut-row, and you're like, ruh-roh, and then it goes, and you're like, and then you try to take it again, and then it kills you.
Yeah, that'd be, you know what, that'd be a good one. Darren says, makes a good point. He says, why couldn't you just give them the delivery coordinates with your phone? Good question, but I don't think that that's always 100% accurate with your drone. If everybody doesn't have the same phone, the same GPS coordinates, it's not going to work. So it's simple. You just throw a mat out there, and it's in the middle of your grass or whatever, and it's a big X thing, and they just drop it right there. Like, it's simple.
So, like in the article, it says, "I hope that the drone says something like, ahoy, me mateys, here's your treasure."
Yes.
Like, that'd be awesome.
It's like a treasure map.
It would be like, ahoy, me mateys, here is your treasure.
Right. Yeah,
here is your treasure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but something about the shopping at Amazon VR which made me think, I'm like, this would be really cool. So remember, like in the Matrix or whatever, he's like gets in there and he's like, I need to learn something. All of a sudden, all those like aisles pass by him, and he like touches things, whatever. Like, that'd be awesome if like you did that. I mean, think about if you could like have your like a scan of your body VR.
It's like shopping in the Matrix.
Well, yeah, but then you like. Clothes shopping would be amazing, right? You're always like, oh, what size is this? Will it look good on me?
It would, yeah.
You'll find out because, well, I mean, maybe.
Well, unless you make your avatar not like you, which is what people will do.
Right, a little stronger. Like, what would this look like if I looked awesome? You know, but like, but if you took like a realistic scan of your body and then it says, here's your sizes. This is what would look good. Like, this according to your measurements and everything. This is what your clothes will look like on you. Like, how amazing would that be? Like, yeah. Hopefully the returns would go down a lot, and then you'd actually be happier with the stuff you get.
Right. No, absolutely. And Travis is watching, and he says drones aren't the best idea because COVID lasts long on different surfaces. I agree, but what they're doing when they do this with drones is they're doing autonomous loading of the drone, so there's no people touching anything, which is, I think, why the technology kind of makes sense.
It's all droids.
Easy. No, it is.
It's all droids. Robots. It is, which is really weird.
Robots.
And that's go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say at Amazon, like the way that they do it is they have robots that stock the shelves.
Yep.
And then those robots end up taking all the stuff that's supposed to go to a specific sector, put it there, go and do that all day long. And then humans are there to sort the packages into whatever delivery vans or whatever they're going to be into. Right.
Gotcha.
And they're literally talking about with this drone thing is like, autonomizing, not lobotomy. No. They're talking about automating everything so that robots do every part of the job.
Right.
And
no human touches
no longer existent.
Which is the problem. Like, that's another problem with technology taking over too much, is then you got an issue with no people having jobs. And, you know, we're there. So, but that would be something that takes over. And then this last one, Apple's making a stylus feel more real. I don't understand why they're putting haptic touch into the Apple Pencil, which is kind of like a cool idea, but I don't know.
Like grit, like graphite versus paper, like
and maybe friction. And I think when we talked about the new iPad, Chris, and it makes a lot of sense if you're a designer, if you're an artist and you actually draw. This might make a lot of sense for someone like you because you can feel the graphite, you could feel the marker, you could feel all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And
is that something I haven't really seen yet?
Oh, what?
It makes the little noises. You know how like when you use a big Sharpie, it's like
that would be funny. That would be funny. Ethan says robots can't get the virus. Oh wait, they can get a virus, Ethan, but they can't get the virus, can they?
That's right.
Can robots get COVID? Oh, that would be
if it's on their surface, they can get COVID.
Breaking news: robots can get COVID. You heard it from Ethan first.
But yeah, that to me, they get computer viruses. More detrimental than human viruses.
That's true.
And they also get corona on their surface. So if anybody's going to be like, here, little droid, let me help you with your computer virus, it accidentally kills them with the corona.
Yeah.
Well, if it gets the coronavirus, it tells them to go to someplace and to deliver the virus, a little spritzer bottle or something like that. You're like, oh, look, it's a cute little droid. What is this?
Well, now it's a bioweapon created by Amazon. Now we're in a different world.
But then it's like they make the little droid robot version of the little dinosaur in Jurassic Park that sprays Newman in the face.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's such a good movie. We need to do a movie review segment where we just kind of talk about the movies that we want to talk about. Hey, but
We finally
Ken,
watched The Joker, by the way.
yeah. Oh, you know what? I still haven't watched it yet. I gotta do that.
I got it.
What'd
Oh
you
yeah,
think?
yeah,
Okay.
for sure. But Ken makes a good point here, and this. So you guys, if you guys don't know Ken and Chris and Jake, I think you've met Ken before. Chris, you haven't met Ken. Anyways,
Blanchard?
so no, Ken Gill. Yes, you met
Got
Ken Blanchard. So Ken makes an interesting comment here. Going back to the security real quickly before we move on to the next story. He says, I know this is a late response, but getting people's information is easy. You can't really hide it. The best defense if a service that notifies you of any changes in real time. Now, I'll tell you why that's huge is because Ken really knows if he's seen some things, and I'm going to have him on the show. We're going to talk about some of his stories because he's got some stories, man, real legit. But technology is going crazy. All these patents are coming, but something that's a problem that I don't know if technology can fix. But in this next story, we're going to talk about a technology that people are using to try and help isolation and the feeling of being by yourself through technology.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
this next story is talking about in times of isolation, dance music community through streaming is an answer. So one of the big things with all this isolation and COVID is we are isolated in so many different ways. Like we are in different places. I am in my home studio. Chris is in his home studio. Jake is in his home studio. And we're all having this show, but we're totally separate, even though we're kind of together, but we're still isolated. Isolation is a problem. I heard a stat because I was talking with a friend who's got an idea for a thing based on isolation and helping this problem, not related to this story, but talking about 30% of the millennial generation before COVID even started were saying they felt isolated and lonely. So now you add on top the fact that you're actually isolated because of all this COVID, and we have a problem. We got to figure that out, right? We got to figure that out. And these guys think that in time of isolation, dance music is the answer. And Jake, I think I know what your answer is going to be to dance music being the answer. But dance music is they're offering community through live streaming their club. So these guys created a club called Nowadays in New York City. And what they've been doing is they've been streaming the dance music with their DJs so that you can kind of have your own club at home. And so then theoretically, if you have neighbors or if you have people that you're able to do FaceTime or Skype with or whatever, then you can have a dance party and you can feel that feel of being in the club and being around people. Jake, what do you? You're the music guy of the three of us, and what's your take on this?
Nobody in their no normal person just has DMX lights running through their house that they can just pulse on and off.
True.
I mean, I have a strobe light. I'm one of the few.
Right, you
know?
are one of the few.
But that's the thing that's interesting to me is one, this isn't just happening with dance music. This is happening with all music.
It needs
right
to.
now. People. It is. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have an app called Bands in Town. If you don't, I highly recommend you get it if you enjoy going to live shows. But basically, you get alerts whenever there's an artist that you follow on Bands in Town, which connects to your Spotify. You get an alert when they're going to be in town.
Yeah.
And when they're going to be playing anything within like a 25-mile radius of your house, right?
So now
now
you're saying that
I'm
app's
seeing-
pretty useless then?
No, not at all.
Really?
Because
Illegal
right
gatherings.
now you're getting a bunch of notifications saying introducing citizen at live stream or so and so at live stream.
Oh yeah.
And so they're keeping up to date with it, telling you that all these people are doing a live stream what they add the URL so you can go to it, what time you can join in. And it's something that's like really cool because now people are able to start watching all these different bands at once. You know, they can go listen to everything. You can listen to hip hop, EDM. You can listen to rock music. You can listen to whatever you're going to do or whatever you want to listen to while the artist is playing it in front of you in your living room.
Yeah.
However, this is great for the idea of getting along, feeling like you're in the same room, listening to the same music, have a like-minded goal, whatever. At the end of the day, the thing that really breaks this apart is there are people that are born performers.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that are born musicians.
Yeah.
And there are people that struck it lucky.
Right.
So right now, what it's going to do is it's going to end up starting to weed out the people that are actually in tune and passionate about their music.
Yeah.
And start leaving those people in the forefront of people's mind, because that's where they're going to get the real engagement from it.
Yeah.
Is the personality of the people that are doing it, and whether or not the people that are doing it believe in what they're doing, right? And so many times nowadays there are artists that do not have that.
Yeah.
So now people are going to start tuning into these live streams, and there's going to be a human aspect that they're not going to see, and it's going to ruin that artist for them. That's totally separate from, that's a separate thought from.
Uh-oh. So Jake's cutting out here, but there's something about this that I think is interesting.
Piece of noise from your computer. So
we missed all of that. That was all like garbly gooply. I have no idea what you said there. But I think what you were saying is like what your point is that this is going to expose the pretenders, right? This is because you're going to see actually how good and how passionate and how talented people really are. However, it doesn't take away from it. It doesn't fix the problem of actually feeling the feel of being in the same room. You cannot duplicate that. Right. You can't.
Nothing's going.
But this also could make a really good move forward for like big bands. I mean, and talk about like paying for something virtually. Like I never thought about going to a concert, like those Fathom events, we go to the theater to watch a concert. Like why not just go to a concert?
Right.
But what if like I've always been a big Metallica fan. Like if Metallica's like, hey, we're going to do this like Zoom call or whatever, and I get to actually be a part and take part in the conversation between songs because there's only 100 to 200 of us like watching whatever the performance is. Like,
yeah, but there'd be way more than 100 or 200, and then you get the people that start spamming the conversation. Like you ever watched some of these YouTube lives of the big channels, and it's just these people just like spamming the conversation, and then at some point you can't even interact. Like we're able to interact with almost every comment that comes through here because our audience isn't 1,000 people big. During the live stream, but there's something to be said for the engagement, and I like that. But there's just a feel that you can't duplicate. But then again, we come back to the fact that this is temporary. This is not permanent, right? We will get back to live events. We will have concerts. We will have that stuff happening. But now is the time where you need to figure out how to bridge the gap, and you need to innovate within the music society and whatever your community is, to be able to stay connected. So when this is over, they're like, man, I really want to go see Metallica, or I really want to go see Eric's Bike Repair, or I really want to go see whoever DJ you want to see. I don't even know what I'm thinking about there. Alan Walker, whatever.
Not DJ Khaled.
Not DJ Khaled. Oh, my DJ horn. Oh, yeah. So I think we might have a problem, though. I think Dad might have busted the myth here, Jake, because Dad says he just busted a move and didn't feel any better. So,
poor guy. He's right downstairs.
I guess it depends on the move that's busted.
It depends on the move that's busted. Yeah, but I think
here's a tale for all the fellas trying to do what those ladies tell us. Get shot down because of overzealous. Play hard to get females jealous. Sorry, I'm done.
Exactly. No, Young MC by far. I think he helps bust moves all the time. But yeah,
did you know that song was actually Stream of Consciousness written in 9 minutes?
No way. Really?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Mm-hmm. That's brilliant. But you know what? It's going to be interesting when all this is over and we go back, and how many people actually go to concerts. I mean, similar to the sports idea, live events, how many people are going to actually go and be like, yay, I'm going to get sweaty and be in a pit and go to Coachella? Or are people going to be like, I'm not ready for this yet? And then will there be enough ticket sales to like, will everything be Fire Festival? I don't know. That's a question.
No, not even close.
You don't think so?
Not even close. Everything is going to boom.
You think it's going to blow up?
Well, especially like the younger crowd, the millennials who are already being told like, oh, go home, and they weren't at first. Like they're just gonna be like, okay, we can go out now. Woo!
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The moment somebody says you guys can go to a public gathering, the shows are gonna drop, because right now we're already getting notifications that live events are going to be continuing in August, that's across the board, right? Every single artist, or even with the last podcast on the left, they're going on tour and starting in August. Mm-hmm. Everything is already selling out.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, people are our live tickets on sale yet for our live TSTO tour yet? Is that No, not yet. No.
Was I supposed to do that?
Okay. So
we need 10 more comments.
okay, tell the last podcast guys that we'll come open for them. Do you do that in live podcasting? Do you have openers? I think you should.
Maybe we should do
I'm
that.
sure you do.
We should
Let's just do it.
We should be the openers for the last podcast guys. Hey, last podcast guys, we'll open for you at your live podcast show. Is that we should make that a thing. We're going to innovate and make that a thing. But there's a lot of people that are frustrated about all the things happening and live events being shut down, and they're irritated and they're wanting something to blame. They're wanting somebody to put the blame on so they can say, hey, this person is the reason. This person is the problem. And this next segment, we are going to play a game, and it's called Who's to Blame? So we're going to get into that next. All right, guys, are you ready to play our newest segment? It is going to be, oh man, I'm so excited for this. It is Who's to Blame? With everything happening, there is all kinds of stuff happening, and there has got to be somebody to blame. There has to be, right? I mean, so it's everything somebody's fault on some level.
Burn the witch. Burn them.
So in this segment, we are going to take some stories, and we're going to actually decide who's to blame. We are going to tell you, we're going to finally tell you. You're going to finally know once and for all who's to blame for all this craziness happening around the world. And in today's Who's to Blame, we are at Ken Gill's jump. You're jumping the gun, brother, but Trump's not even on the list. He didn't even make the list.
Not an option.
He didn't even make the list. Right now, here are our options. Who's to blame? It's either Jeff Bezos, it's either Vladimir Putin, or it is Kermit the Frog. Who is it gonna be? Who is to blame? We're gonna run it down, and we're gonna now here's the deal. Here's the rules to the game. Somebody is to blame for every story that we read here. We're only reading the headline. There is nothing else that we're reading, only the headline, and we have to decide who's to blame, and then we have to back it up with our actual reason. You can't just say, I blame Putin because his phone looks like it's old. Like, you can't do that. Like, that's not allowed. That's not allowed. All right, first story. Here it is. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? First story. Oh, so ready for this. First story has to do with the Tiger King. Here we go. Tiger King, murder, mayhem, and madness. The bigger the cats, the crazier the cat people. All right, we have got to decide who is to blame for the Tiger King, because somebody should be blamed. For sure, this is something that we need. We need to pass blame for the Tiger King. So, Jake, I'm going to start with you. Who's to blame? Do we blame Putin? Do we blame Bezos, or do we blame Kermit? Who's to blame for the Tiger King?
Nobody.
Nobody? What? No,
the Tiger King is the single greatest thing that's ever happened to Netflix.
No, you are fired from this game. You cannot choose that.
No, okay. Let me think about it. We need a Jeopardy song. We need like
we do need a da 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 da.
Wait, like, do we have to have seen the Tiger King to be able to comment on?
No, not at all. It's
of course.
No, you don't. Look at the picture, guys. Look at the picture. He's next to a tiger. He's got a blonde mullet, and he's wearing a sequined tiger pattern jacket with no shirt. That's enough. You don't need any more than that.
I'm gonna say Putin. Just because of the fact Putin's known to be in cahoots with animals.
Yes, that's true. His bear wrestling days.
Them with his bare hands.
Yeah, exactly. But then also, I think that Putin probably doesn't have a good grasp on how the English language works.
Oh.
And there's 2 colons in this title, which make me really uncomfortable. Because, like, everybody knows 2 colons is worse than 1.
All right. Okay. So Jake says Putin is responsible. Chris, who do you lay blame on?
Bezos.
Bezos? Why do you say Bezos?
Because I might as well say Bezos, the life and story of, what he has accomplished with Amazon. Amazon being the tiger, and the bigger it gets, the more murder and mayhem and madness has to occur in order to keep that.
Metaphor.
So I think
what a metaphor.
I think that's interesting, Chris. I'm gonna go with Bezos too, but I blame Bezos because he bought this horribly awful shirt, I think, on Amazon. I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna
I blame Bezos. Jeff Bezos, Jeff Bezos, the Tiger King, is your fault. We blame
There
you, Jeff Bezos. All right. Next story we are looking at. Now, this one might feel like it's a slam dunk, but it's not. Russian jet flies within 25 feet of U.S. spy plane in unsafe high-speed maneuver, Navy says. All right, guys. Now, Russian jet. Who is to blame? Chris, I'm going to start with you this time. Who's to blame for this Russian jet flying too close?
This one's kind of tough.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say Kermit the Frog.
You're going with Kermit. Why? Why are you going with Kermit?
Because I think he's trying to. He would set this up to distract us from the takeover of the Muppets of our economy, and we don't want Muppets over the economy, of course.
No. Can you imagine Fozzie Bear in the
Russian
Treasury?
Jet flies over within 25 feet of the U.S. spy plane. How do we figure that out? It's probably Amazon drones. So it's Kermit's trying to set this whole up so that we can no longer see his inner workings of his master plan to take over the world.
Okay, so you say Kermit. All right, and because of Kermit's world domination, you're afraid of. I'll go next. I think this one lands squarely on Kermit as well. But I think the problem is it has nothing to do with anything you said. I think it's because Miss Piggy was flying the U.S. thing, and she wanted to take over, and she wanted to get really close, and then Kermit said, "No way. I'm buzzing the tower. Time to buzz the tower, Goose."
Miss Piggy is a Russian.
No,
agent?
Kermit. I think Kermit was flying the Russian jet, and I think Miss Piggy was flying the U.S. jet, and it was a spousal thing. Like realistically, they've been together in quarantine too long, and so they're just doing this.
Take this, Kermit!
So wait, is it a distance thing then? Because it's 25 feet equate to like 6 feet if we're standing? Is this like a COVID thing?
Because there's a multiple, and because you put it in the formula and you drop it in, and then you do the math, and it's like 3 feet.
Is that why that's why it's unsafe?
Yeah, that's why it's unsafe.
The
COVID.
distancing?
It's COVID distancing.
But like 25 feet is like 6 feet in puppet feet.
Yes.
Especially if you're gonna be Muppet Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Jake. Jake, who do you blame for the Russian jet flying within 25 feet of a U.S. spy plane?
You guys really stole my thunder here because I was going to say it was Kermit, but not because of any reason of like a marital dispute. It was Kermit because it was a Muppets bit in like the Muppets Most Wanted where they're actually fighting the Russian Kermit.
Yes.
But like it's Kermit's flying because he's the leader of the pack, but then all of the Muppets are in the cockpit.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, I dropped my chocolate bar, and then he goes down to grab it, and then Kermit's like, no, and then Miss Piggy's like, we're going down, and then there's the guy in the back. It's like, me, 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 me. And then it's just you're
Yeah.
You know what? I think the Swedish chef has got to be there on some level, right? The Swedish
He
chef.
was probably he was in the U.S. plane though, going.
So I think it's interesting that we're unanimous that it was definitely Kermit. So Kermit must be a Russian spy. I think that's what we've come down to for sure. All right, this next story that we are going to decide who is to blame. Crowds gather around the country to protest social distancing. That's pretty ironic. Crowds gather to protest social distancing. All right, I guess I get to go first this time. Who is to blame? Is it Bezos? Is it Putin? Or is it Kermit? And you know what? I feel like this has to be blamed on Jeff Bezos. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why Jeff Bezos is at fault for these people congregating and protesting social distancing is they feel like just because they can buy everything on Amazon, but it's not coming next day, they're really irritated. So they're thinking maybe if they congregate in this protest, it's not actually for the protest. That's like the misnomer to say, hey, we're gathering because of protest. But really, we all just choose this location for our delivery, so we're going to get a mass delivery and we can get it same day. Like that's why it's Bezos' fault. I believe that Bezos is behind this protest for social distancing in crowds. All right, Jake, who do you blame for this crowd gathering?
I'm going to blame Putin.
Putin, okay.
I'm going to blame Putin again, and the reason why is because I think that these aren't Americans. I think that these are the best and the brightest Russian actors. And they're filming a Netflix documentary for Netflix Russia. And what they did was they were location scouting, and they realized most of our land is bought up. The stores are full. What are we supposed to? The streets of America seem to be pretty empty right now. And they decided that they were going to go. And
I think Russian hackers are getting...
Russian hackers, I think what happened, the spy plane that got buzzed by
Americans.
We can't hear you, Jake. Your whole thing with that whole story, the last half, it was all gobbledygook. Like, you can't...
Hey, thanks. Cool. Fun.
He was exposing the Russians.
That's right. You know what? Chris said it was Russian hackers, Jake, that got in and they cut your stream and they were using up your internet. So
with Russian...
Oh, yeah. No, I heard him.
Yeah. All right, Chris, who do you blame?
I actually am going with Jake. I believe it's a Putin, but
you think it's Putin?
Not for the Jake reasons.
Okay,
no.
what's your reasons?
Although, I do like the idea of red flicks as they shoot on location.
Red flicks. Oh my goodness.
This is a Red Flicks original story about.
But they're all only documentaries of Putin wrestling bears. That's all the only content that's on Red Flicks. Yeah.
No, I think it's Putin, but I think it's just to create civil unrest within our country so that we eventually defeat ourselves, and then he can come over and reign king of both nations.
You know what? You're all about the world domination in this whole game right now. That's the Muppets. The Muppets are dominating now. Putin is dominating with these protests. You know what? I think that's interesting.
If Putin could take out America, he could then finally put himself full-fledged against his arch rival Kermit the Frog.
There it is. You know what? I think that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, we are
because we could find outside.
It's like in Wayne's World when they go to the Stan Mikita's donut shop and they go to order donuts and Garth tries to make all the and at the end and they're like, yes, I'm one jelly donut and but Jake, your internet's like that. Say your internet's like Wayne's World. Okay, but this last one,
you guys too on my end.
This last story, we have to decide who is to blame. We need to blame somebody. Someone is to blame because there is a story that says, forget your allergy shots, try allergy toothpaste? Allergy toothpaste, really?
Allergy toothpaste.
That doesn't seem like that I don't... whose fault is this? We have to blame somebody. Blame somebody.
Sounds like it may be itchy.
This sounds like it might be itchy. All right, who do we start with? Is it Jake or Chris? Who starts in this one?
I don't care.
Chris, you know what? Let's let you start. Let's let you start.
All right, let's do it. This one's tough.
This is tough. Who are you going to blame?
All I can think of is itchy gums, and that's scary. I think this is again Kermit the Frog.
It's got to be Kermit, right?
This sounds like I can just see Bunsen and Beaker creating something and be like, okay,
Yes.
Beaker, let's have him try this. Beep, 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 beep. And then you start to put it on itchy. I'm allergic to whatever this toothpaste is or whatever. And
it's allergy toothpaste.
Yes. So
right? That's
interesting because Kermit does have the scientists. I think all three of these guys have the scientists to make it happen. But I think you're right. I think Kermit. I think that's a good call. Kermit had Beaker and the Swedish Chef making up some allergy toothpaste. Jake, who's to blame for the allergy toothpaste?
Bezos.
Why do you blame Bezos?
Can I give a real answer, or does it have to be 3 words or less? You
can give a real answer as long as we can hear it. He's frozen. Oh, Jake says Bezos. I guess I'll finish it up because
cool.
Okay, there.
I think. Yeah, I don't need to give a reason. You won't hear it.
You just the Russian hackers are on you. They know anytime you give a reason, they're just in there, just messing with you. And
I said Bezos.
All right, so here we go. I've got my final feeling on this. Who's to blame? Is it Bezos, Putin, or Kermit? And my theory is that this is actually a monopoly where all three of them came together and they've created this allergy toothpaste, and Bezos is the distribution arm, Putin is the world domination arm, and Kermit is the comic relief to make him feel like, hey, allergy toothpaste, that's a funny thing. And Putin's like, ha ha ha, this is taking over the world. And Bezos is like, hey, if I can make a buck, I'll sell it. Like that's where I think it lands.
That wasn't an option.
I made it an option. I did it. I have the power. I have the DJ horn.
You God.
We just have to blame. It doesn't mean can't blame more than one, I guess.
That's right. It doesn't mean you can't blame more than one. I never said that. You just have to blame somebody.
I never read the fine print.
You know, Jake, you always read the fine print. That's the rule.
That's how they get us. That's
the rule. You got to read. You don't just check the box and say, I agree. You got to read the fine print. You got to read the fine print.
The app, unless you agree.
That's right. That's true.
Read the fine print.
Oh, man. All right, good. Hey, we got through a lot of stories here, and we are at an hour 15 of this live stream TSTO episode 30. Episode 30.
We need to get the Black Santa.
We didn't. You know what? We'll close it out. We'll close it out with a little Black Santa, you guys. This is a picture taken of me in the subway. I was dressed up for Christmas, and I wanted everyone to feel intimidated by my extremely buff body. And the fact that I love Christmas.
You have a very long hat there, my friend.
All the better to put the toys in, my dear.
Metaphor.
The longer the hat, the longer the Christmas season.
All right, you guys, this has been fun. Hopefully you guys are doing well out there in Coronaville and you're not going stir crazy yet. We'll be back next week for another show. You can always listen to the show. We've got now bites. We're taking these segments and we're setting out each segment as an episode in the audio podcast. You can check it out there, TSTOshow.com. Download the show. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on all the other places, Anchor. You can just go to TSTOshow.com. Make sure to subscribe. Share this out with your friends because otherwise Jake's going to tell your mom. And you don't want Jake to tell your mom.
I'm going to tell your mom.
He's going to tell your mom. All right, guys, I'm Todd Frazier.
I'm Jake Frazier.
And I'm Chris Cody.
And this is the Trending Stories Taking Over show. We will see you guys in the next episode.